So, a fresh new week has arrived, and here on this channel, that means one thing and one thing only. Every weekend I post an episode of this series we do called Your Take Not Mine, where I turn to you, the viewers, to give me your hottest NBA takes of the week based on what's going on at the time, and I then choose my favorite submissions and discuss them in a video. This week, the NBA offseason officially began as the NBA Finals are all wrapped up, so with it has come a ton of speculation regarding trades and free agents. The NBA draft discussions have been heating up with it coming up this week, and a big blockbuster trade has already gone down, so of course we have plenty to discuss. In order to submit your takes, I make a community post on either the day of or the day before the video, similar to the one that you see on your screen now, so if you want a chance to be featured in a future episode, be sure to stay on the lookout for that. Before we start though, it turns out a good amount of you watching right now aren't even subscribed to the channel, so if you enjoy the content, consider hitting the subscribe button, as not only does it help out a ton, but I'd also very much appreciate it. Now with that being said, let's begin. The first take we'll be discussing today comes to us from Samuel, and he says that the Suns trading for Bradley Beal still won't make them real title contenders. News broke today that the Wizards will be trading Bradley Beal to the Phoenix Suns. Well, the first domino of the summer just fell, and from here I expect things to only get more hectic. The Suns got aggressive last season by trading for Kevin Durant, and they're not done making big moves to go try to win a championship. The response to this trade, though, as seen by this take, have been pretty mixed. Obviously, there's a portion of fans fearing another super team being built, as a trio of Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and Bradley Beal is an incredibly formidable trio. But then, on the flip side, there's an equally large number of fans skeptical about a move like this because of Beal's questionable fit alongside Durant and Booker, along with the restrictions that his contract places on the front office regarding their ability to construct the rest of the roster. The appeal of putting as many stars together as possible will always be there, but the Suns will now literally have to fill over half of their roster with minimum contract guys, and depth was already one of their biggest issues this past season. On top of that, shot creation is the one thing that they excel in the most right now, so Beal's skill set as a shot creator becomes pretty redundant. With all of this being said though, the Suns are still 100% title contenders by making this move, but that doesn't mean that they're the favorites to win it all. They lost to the Nuggets in this year's postseason because Chris Paul was out injured on top of their depth concerns, but replacing him with a healthy Bradley Beal would have absolutely made a difference. I think the people that are saying that a Beal move wouldn't make them contenders are over-exaggerating and going way too over the top, because with Durant and Booker they were contenders, and Beal makes them even more difficult to defend on defense. But at the same time, the severe depth issues it creates makes it so the league is still wide open after this, unlike the super team era of the 2010s. The next take we'll be discussing today comes to us from Royal, and he says that there isn't a single player that the Trailblazers could trade their number 3 overall pick for that would make them legitimate contenders next season. Now, when reading this take, he is obviously referring to trades that could realistically come about featuring their pick in the draft. He's not saying that there isn't a single player in the league that could make Portland contenders, and I just wanted to clarify that before I got a lot of confused comments about it down below. Now, back to what he said, let's actually discuss some of the guys who are somewhat realistically within reach. To this point, we have no real evidence to go off of besides rumors and speculation, but oftentimes when these stories break, there is at least an ounce of truth behind them. The Blazers have been fielding calls discussing potential deals before the draft, and the teams that they've been having the best conversations with that have progressed the furthest are apparently the Toronto Raptors, the New Orleans Pelicans, and the Washington Wizards. From those teams, the players that they could get in return include Pascal Siakam, Zion Williamson, Kristaps Porzingis, and OG Anunoby. That's a list featuring a few all-stars and very good players at their position, and adding any of them is obviously an improvement over what they were working with last season. Pascal Siakam is one of the best power forwards in the league, and adding him would assuredly make them a playoff team next season. Zion Williamson is an insane talent who, when on the court, dominates the paint season like very few others the game has ever seen, but obviously the injury concerns are an issue. Porzingis would space the floor and provide some much-needed interior defense, and Anunoby would help fill a hole defending the perimeter and provide a secondary scoring punch that could help. However, while all of that may be true, I completely agree with this take at hand. None of these trades actually take the Trailblazers to the heights that they aspire to get to, they just delay the inevitable. These trades would spark some excitement among the fanbase, they'd be able to keep Lillard for a few more seasons, and getting back to the playoffs would be good in a vacuum, but the reality is that there really isn't a clear path to title contention for them. And finally, the last take we'll be discussing today comes to us from KH, and he says that despite the Nuggets winning the title this year, it's extremely unlikely that they will be able to turn that success into a dynasty run. The Nuggets were the best team in the NBA this year pretty much from start to finish, and capping it off with a championship solidified that for them. They deserved every bit of the success that came their way, and with their entire starting lineup under contract for a few more seasons, they're going to be in contention year in and year out for a while. However, unlike the years where LeBron James dominated the East and the Warriors dominated the West, we're now in a time of NBA basketball with more parity than we've seen in a long time, and absolute domination to that degree is definitely much harder to achieve. We've had this dynasty conversation after the Milwaukee Bucks won in 2021, we had this conversation after the Lakers won in 2020, hell, we even had this conversation about whether the Warriors dynasty was back on after last year, but we've now seen a different champion in 6 consecutive seasons, and I don't see that trend ending anytime soon. The new CBA setup makes it harder than ever to truly build an overpowered dynasty because of the salary constraints, player movement is more prevalent than ever, and quite frankly, health plays a huge role in who wins a championship every year. This is not in any way meant to discredit the Nuggets this season, but the healthiest team tends to be the team that wins it all or makes a very far run, and the Nuggets were the healthiest team in this year's postseason. In the West, they faced the Phoenix Suns without Chris Paul, the Clippers were playing without Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, the Grizzlies saw Ja Morant suffer an injury in the playoffs, Giannis Antetokounmpo got injured in the first round of the playoffs, Joel Embiid got injured and tried to play through it this year, even Jimmy Butler was playing on a bum ankle for most of the postseason. Injuries are completely random, and the team that avoids the injury bug tends to make the deepest run. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below what you think about the takes we discussed. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.